Welcome to the Wealth Matters podcast, where investors come together to better understand how to build passive cash flow and create generational wealth without all the confusing mumbo-jumbo. Here's your host and co-author of Amazon #1 bestseller, Alpesh Pamar.
Welcome to Wealth Matters podcast. I am going to talk to someone who has mastered passive income. So welcome, Joey Mure. Joey has spent about 11 years in the mortgage business, and then he left his career making over $300,000 a year. I wouldn't do that, but he did that to teach the people strategies to get financial freedom. So since 2014, he and his business partner have personally created over $50,000 per month in passive income. So I really want to get to that point, 50 grand. So welcome, Joey.
Oh, Alpesh, thanks for having me, man. This is awesome.
Absolutely. So first question I ask everyone, tell us something interesting or funny about yourself.
All right, I'll give you two things. One, I have 5 daughters.
Wow. Okay.
Most people are like, they start praying for me immediately.
Yeah. I got 2 daughters. So I know.
And the second thing is one time in college, I ate a 72-ounce steak dinner at the Big Texan in Amarillo, Texas.
Whoa.
So just saying, if you want to, I love to eat. And
looks like after that you started working out, right?
That's right.
So, and before we get started, because you talk about passive income so much, you have your own podcast. We were talking about that. And you also have your passive income mastermind. I want to know personally, what kind of assets do you own or invest in? And what is your favorite investment vehicle out of all that?
Well, I can tell you this. If it's okay, I want to push back on that question.
Okay.
Because here's the thing, like if we're going to really break down passive income investing, the most important thing, the question that people should be asking themselves is not what do you invest in, but who am I as an investor, right? And we call it the investor DNA profile, right? Figure out who you are as an investor and then apply that to the types of investments that are available so that you can get to financial freedom as fast as possible. I liken it to the fact of like, if you pull up your Maps app on your phone and you put in your destination and it says, you get like 3 or 4 different ways to get to your destination, right?
Right.
But one of them says fastest.
Yes.
And it's because it has either the least amount of turns or the least amount of traffic or whatever. I think of it as if I can take my investor DNA profile, who I am as a person, and match it up to the investments that are available to me that match that really well, I'm going to get to financial freedom as fast as possible. And I have tons of reasons I say that. And I will tell you all the things that we are investing in, because we say that every month on our podcast.
Oh, okay.
But I want to push back on the question, because most people want to know, what should I invest in? And they just get all like crazy about, oh, what's the ROI and what are other people doing? And they get all excited about it. But really it's about like, take time to figure out who you are first. And we can get into that. But as far as like what we're investing in right now, I'll pull up our report here. So I'm going to look over here at the screen. We do this every month on our podcast. So if you want to hear it, like updates, we share the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like when we lose, when we win, we want you to hear the whole story. It's very transparent. But we have a land flipping business, which I know you introduced Mark Podolsky on your show a while back. And he introduced us to this idea. And we actually hired a team to run the business for us. That's the only way it could be passive.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. That's a lot of, because I looked into it and it's a lot of work. So you got to have a solid team.
But we started this in June of 2020.
Okay.
And in just 2 years' time, it's now netting almost $15,000 a month in passive income.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
And that to me is my favorite thing we do. So you asked me like, what are we investing in? That's my favorite, because It's completely hands off the way we designed it. And number two, it's land. Like it takes no maintenance.
Yes,
right?
that's the key.
100% just raw land, and it's note income that keeps growing every single month. Now we don't take any income from it. We keep just reinvesting it and allowing it to buy more and more land.
Yeah, I was going to say that also for tax reasons, right? It's better to.
So I'm a big fan of that. The second thing we did is we started a short-term rental business. We hired an operator and trained him and gave him a salary. Like, it was very intensive up front. But that was in July of 2020. And last month, that netted us a little over almost $22,000.
That's amazing.
And across 26 units.
Okay. And where are all those units?
They're all right here in Birmingham, Alabama, where we live.
Oh, so you are in Birmingham. Oh my
That's right.
God. I was just there 2 weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah, next
That's
time
awesome.
if I'm there, because I own a property there. I love the Atlanta, Georgia, Birmingham, Alabama market, all the way to Carolinas. So
it's a perfect place for rental real estate.
Oh, okay. So
sure.
Next time, I think I may be there in a month or next month or in 2 months. I'll let you know.
Yeah, please look us up. We'll go to a great dinner.
Awesome. So let's go back to DNA, investor DNA, because you mentioned something, investor DNA profile. What do you mean by that?
So what I mean by that is that how you see the world, what things are exciting to you, the things that you're gifted in. Like for instance, I'm gonna break it down like this. You've heard of the DISC profile, right? The personality profile.
Yes.
So that's what our investor DNA profile is based off of, is the DISC profile. And if you start looking at that, in fact, I'll bring one up here. It really breaks it down by like the four styles, right? So do you know somebody who's assertive, to the point, who wants the bottom line, right? They might be a little bit direct and strong-willed. Okay. Well, that's somebody in that D profile, right? I see. How about somebody that's really good with friends? They're great communicators. They're optimistic, friendly, talkative. That's that I personality.
So you're talking about me now.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. And what I do is, so you can do that through all different personalities. The S style is somebody who's a great listener, great team player. They're steady, practical, loyal. They don't like a lot of conflict, right? Okay. And then C would be the person who's factual, detail-oriented, they're precise, they're analytical, right? That's how you kind of break down those personalities. Now, what we do is we apply that to 6 of our top passive income strategies. Okay. So like short-term rentals, turnkey, long-term rental properties, land flipping, e-commerce, private lending. And then the 6th one would be like, if you were going out and building a portfolio of long-term rentals yourself, not turnkey, but just going,
buying on your own and figuring out the market, doing all the research, and even finding the property manager, tenant, all that.
Exactly. So those are very different than buying a turnkey, right?
It's a huge difference. People don't realize one is semi-passive and another one is almost active.
Exactly. And so what we do is we say, okay, now hold up those 6 strategies according to your DISC profile, your personality profile, and you say, well, there's certain things that you'll like about each one of them. That's your pros, right? These are the pros of short-term rentals, the pros of land flipping. And then you flip it over and say, but there's also some cons, right? What are the things you're not going to, like I'm going to give you for instance. So Alpesh, you said you're a really personable, outgoing I personality, right? Well, an I personality looks at turnkey long-term rentals. They say, hey, I love this because it's simple.
Yes.
The cash turns into cash flow. It's hands off, all these things. But the cons of that I personality is kind of boring.
Yeah.
Right?
You're right.
You don't engage with people. You can't really increase the profit very much. It's just market based, like you just rocking on, right?
Hey, sorry to interrupt. So you are on point, man, right there. I just want to remind all the listeners, Joy is on point here, right? So exactly, I love long-term rental, but on the flip side, I feel like I'm not able to communicate, right? I'm not connected, and so I'm always looking for something else, shiny object syndrome, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
sorry to interrupt.
Well, no, and I'll give you this. I'm gonna make the point that I made earlier. If you don't line up your investor DNA with the types of investments that are the best for you, it can stymie your growth. It can keep you from getting to financial freedom as fast as possible. And my business partner, for instance, is a high I, Russ. He's a high I. He bought a turnkey rental property in 2004, 2005, something like that.
Wow.
And it was one of these, a friend of his, like, hey, I got this deal. You can't pass it up. And so he bought it. And he said it was so boring. He never bought another one. And he kind of like stopped pursuing a lot of investments because it just was one of those things like, well, this really isn't that fun to me. Like, I can't affect how it grows. I mean, I keep getting bills from, ServPro because somebody flooded the unit or whatever, like, he's like, this is sorry. I don't like this. But now you get him on a short-term rental. And he loves it because now he can go and share it with people. Like, hey, do you know anybody that's looking for a place to stay? Or, hey, you got people coming to town. Look, I could put them up over here in this unit over here. We got 26 units and it's cool and it's different and it's like, super profitable. I mean, getting $500 to $800 per bedroom per month in profit, like very profitable. And so he loves the short-term rental business, but he really didn't care for the long-term rental. And it has really pushed us forward in creating the passive income we've been able to create because we started to figure out these things and say, man, we need to do more of what really charges us up and will align with getting us to financial freedom. Does that make sense?
No, it does make sense. I'm just listening because I'm comparing myself to this high profile. And again, you are 100% right, because I did long-term rental and then I moved on to syndication because I love talking to investors. So this is what I do. I raise capital. I work with investors one-on-one. I love explaining them how you explained about passive income. And also I started enjoying the Bitcoin mining or crypto side because of just my profile. So I can totally relate to it.
Well, yeah, you want to have influence, right?
Yes.
That's what that I profile is all about, is influence. And I'm more of an S profile, right? I'm more steady, kind of loyal. And to be honest, I like long-term rentals because, especially in a turnkey, because I really don't care to have a bunch of conflict. Like, I don't want to go out there and try to find a tenant. I don't really want to have to tell somebody to get out of my property, like any of that stuff. Syndications are really good for people like me because they want to be hands off. They want to just be able to, hey, Alpesh, I love what you're doing. And I feel confident you're a good operator. You're going to be able to take care of this money, and bang, I just hand it off and it's done and I get a check. Right. That's really cool. That's why I like our land flipping business. The way it's designed is a team runs the whole business and we just get constant cash flow coming in. An S personality loves that. So anyways, I mean, again, we could go through all of these, but I just want to kind of introduce the idea that, man, this exists. And when you align it, you're going to get so much more results faster, regardless of ROI. Because most people just focus in on what's the ROI, what's the ROI, and it really doesn't matter if it's not going to help you get to your goal.
I agree. No, this is great. So I'm glad that you explained the DNA profile, the disc test, etc. Can you or have you seen any kind of examples of how not knowing your investor DNA can create issues or makes you not reach your goal faster?
Yes. Unfortunately, yes.
I'm pretty sure you did.
So about 4 or 5 years ago, before we really got dialed in on this, I heard from a friend. He's like, man, there's this business. It's a drop shipping business. And it's super easy. Like all you do is you have a website and people go there, they buy these products and you literally connect them with AliExpress in China. And now all of a sudden you make the spread between what they paid you on the front end and what you get from the Chinese.
I'm laughing because I have tried that and wholesaling and failed miserably. So
oh, good. Thank you. Well, but so for me, it was like the company is called 100unicorns.com.
Okay.
And so you can laugh at me all you want, but I have 5 daughters. So I was originally thinking, this is going to be great. I can teach my daughters about how to do business, right? And it's simple. I get into this, Alpesh, and I'm like, this is a train wreck. I am not good at details. So going and like connecting the back end of the website to AliExpress and the worst part was I don't understand promotion, right? Like advertising, going into Google AdWords and Facebook and all these places. Like I suck at that stuff. And that's the only way you can make any money, right? And so anyways, I was totally out of my league buying this website and it was already running. So I thought it was going to be, oh, this is going to make money from day one. It did not. And I just kept trying to keep it afloat. It still exists. I still have people that buy it from me every once in a while.
Okay.
But I haven't put any money behind, getting people's eyeballs on the products because I just never could figure it out. And I was losing money every single month. So that was a good example.
I have lost about 15 grand in drop shipping and wholesaling on Amazon. So I know how it feels.
100%.
And then I realized it's not for me, right? So no, that's great. So, and on the flip side, can we talk about examples how knowing your DNA has made you successful?
Yeah, well, I would go back to some of the points that I was making earlier is just, man, I love this land flipping business. When we realized that like my business partner and I are not good operators, we're great at influence. We're great at, raising capital and those sort of things. We don't need to be the ones in the middle of actually operating the business, whatever it is. So our short-term rental business has been a huge success because we're not running it, but we can have influence. The land business is great for us because everybody else is running it on a day-to-day basis. And again, we have nothing to contribute or anything like that, but we're really good friends with like Mark Badowski and his team. And so we're able to talk about our experience and I've even got my daughter now who's just turned 16.
That's
starting
awesome.
to buy and sell land. And
that's what I've been trying
really cool
to get my 12-year-old. Now at least she asks me every day, what is the price of Bitcoin? Every morning. So I've been explaining her the money, the finance. So that's great when you can get your kids involved.
No doubt.
And so before we started, we also spoke about a book you are writing. Can you tell us the title and what are the 3 steps to financial freedom you recommended in the book?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we started this project for a while ago, and it's hopefully coming to an end any month now. But it's called Wealth Without Wall Street, the 3 steps to financial freedom through passive income. And we call it that because there's ultimately the GPS is what we call it. So just think back to that Maps app on your phone. When you have a destination, which we're saying is financial freedom, there's really now you can turn on that GPS and it tells you where to go, right? So your goal, your plan, and support.
Okay.
If you can have those 3 steps, and we walk you through it in the book, it's fairly simple in terms of its application, but it's just all about execution.
Oh, that's great. I'm looking forward to hearing more about the book.
I'm hoping it's coming out this summer, but I'm really the bottleneck. I just have to go through the transcript.
Yes.
Like that's the manuscript. I have to go through the manuscript, right. And then we'll be ready to go. So
we didn't get to this question, and I wanted to know, because you mentioned about leaving the mortgage business. Why did you leave the mortgage business? What was the catalyst?
Well, I'll tell you, I started implementing the things that we talk about in the book in 2010. Okay. And by 2014, it was like my world had been just completely changed. The way I think about money, the way I think about financial freedom. I had not by any means accomplished financial freedom by that point, but I was so fired up about the idea. I was like, man, why don't more people know about this?
Yeah.
And I went to Russ, and I was like, he was my financial coach essentially. And I said, man, I think I need to come do this with you like full time. And he was like, what? Why would you? Are you serious? Because he knew how much money I was making in the mortgage business, and I was highly respected in our market and all this stuff. And I said, man, I just really feel like God's given me an opportunity to impact more people with this message than just helping them to get a mortgage. Like that's an important thing. Don't get me wrong. But more importantly, giving people the kind of the keys to unshackle themselves from financial bondage. Like that's what I'm about. And so I went home and told my wife, and I was afraid she was going to think I was a complete moron. Yeah. But she immediately was like, I think you should do it.
That's
amazing. And I was like, wow. Okay. Yeah. All right. That's all I need to know. Let's do this thing.
Hey, so I'm comparing again, I'm relating this to myself. And remember when we get started with this idea, I think you started in 2010. I started in 2011. And started reading Rich Dad Poor Dad in 2015, right a year after you, right, 2014. I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And when we get started, people think we are some weirdos. We are some screw-ups, right? Screwed ups, right? It's hard to explain them that 8 to 5 job is not important. It could be 200,000, 400,000. It's just so hard, right? So how did you deal with that?
Alpesh, I had so many people that I worked with in the real estate and mortgage world that they were baffled.
Yes.
They were baffled. They literally would text me or call me and say, Joey, I need to get together with you and have coffee because I need to understand what in the world you're doing. Right. Like, why would you ever give up? Because they knew like this was a successful career for me. It wasn't like I wasn't making it and I needed something else. And so that was pretty powerful to be able to sit in front of people and say, this is why I left, because this is so important for others to know. And so, yeah, it was a funny couple of years of watching people just in disbelief.
Yeah, it took me like 5 years, the funny 5 years. Finally, in 2020, COVID made everyone realize staying at home, we had more time, and they started talking, oh yeah, I got to invest, or I got to create multiple streams of income. And then they started reaching out. So one last question before we take a quick break. Real estate, stocks, cryptos, all of them have been on fire, too hot and too frothy. What do you think is coming next? Inflation or recession?
Man, to be honest, I wish that I knew this better. I see inflation being a major problem for most people, but on the flip side, it is dramatically helping those who are syndicating real estate deals.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, like just the deals that I'm seeing and have seen over the last 2 years are just unbelievable. I think taking action right now is more important than getting it right, because there's just too much opportunity in this situation, like with this inflation stuff. I do think that there's a recession looming, But at the same time, it's not the same as what we saw in 2008, 2009.
Yes,
it's not, because there's none of the same indicators.
Yeah, I agree.
So, man, I hate to not answer your question well, but I literally, I just know that I'm building passive income streams because those are the things that are going to be more important than, like, I would not be building something based off of just an appreciation play right now. That to me is too risky.
No, and none of us have a crystal ball. Even the Fed does not have a crystal ball. But
exactly,
the more and more I'm reading as well as watching George Gammon to Robert Kiyosaki to Peter Schiff to Charlie Munger, Ray Dalio. It seems government is left with only two choices: inflation or recession, and they got to figure out what they want to deal with first, right? Because
exactly,
the excessive money printing would do this kind of damage for sure, and it's coming. But yeah,
right.
I agree. I agree that it's not going to be the same as 2008 and 9.
No doubt.
Or at least keeping my fingers crossed. So let's take a quick break. And after the break, we'll go through the same questions I ask every guest.
You're listening to the Wealth Matters Podcast. The Wealth Matters Podcast. For more info about what we do, check us out at wealthmatters.com. It's wealth, WEALTH, matters, MATRS.com.
Welcome back to Wealth Matters Podcast. I would highly recommend all of you to go through this episode one more time, because Joey shared a lot of golden nuggets about the investor DNA profile as well as passive income stream. So Joey, are you ready for fire round?
Let's do it.
Would you be changing any business or investment strategy after this pandemic is over? And I hope it is over now.
Yeah, man, me too. I think, to be honest, I would keep doing what we've done. The main things we've done in terms of passive income really started in the midst of the pandemic. Like, our short-term rental business flourished as a result of the coronavirus because people didn't want to go stay in hotels.
Yes.
So we blew up during that time, right? And land, I think, is just that, it's like recession proof in a sense, because people are always wanting to buy land, whether it's super high market, low market. They want places to go to get away because of having been cooped up in their houses. Right. So I would continue to do what we're doing, but I would stay away from things like restaurants. That taught me something. Like, you don't want to be in the restaurant industry. It's just got too much control from the government.
Correct. Favorite real estate or finance or any other related book?
So the book that changed my life was in 2010 when my business partner handed me Becoming Your Own Banker by Nelson Nash.
Oh, that's a great book.
Oh, yes. It just blew my mind. And it immediately started to take the roots that I had from, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it made all of it kind of come together for me.
Yep.
So, but get that book. If you haven't read it, get it. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, no, I highly recommend it. So I'm guessing that you also have a high cash value life insurance policy like me.
I have a few more than one. I have about 22 policies now.
Oh my God. Okay. You and I need to catch up. I need to figure out how you did that. Any tool or website you recommend or you cannot live without?
That's a great question. To be honest, I don't want to be self-serving, but I think, like, we built an online app for Wealth Without Wall Street. It's a community, and we build all of our content around it. That's where I spend all my time right now. So, like, if you ever want to contact me or connect with our team in any way, you can go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/passport. And that gets you access to the app, to the community, and to a free course that once you go into that passport, it actually leads you to the investor DNA that we're talking about in the next course. And you can get your own profile and start seeing how you match up as an investor.
Oh, that's awesome. This is a pretty important question I ask everyone. Any advice for beginner investor?
I think what we've been talking about on this show is the number one thing nobody's talking about, right? I mean, think about it. When you started investing, who was telling you to stop looking at the investments and to focus in on who you are? Nobody, right? No. And I think it's the number one most important thing you can do. Figure out, who am I? What do I get fired up about? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And here's the other part of that. If you're a beginning investor, like, it may very well be that you see one of your biggest weaknesses is your inexperience. So to partner with experienced investors is the best thing you can potentially do, right? So I don't know, it's Alpesh, like, if you've got opportunities for syndications or other things that you're doing that people could say, man, this is my first time around. I don't want to screw this up. I want to work with somebody who knows what they're doing,
right? Rather
than going and blazing a trail and trying to figure out. I mean, we've all paid the stupid tax.
Yep.
And that's when we just
call education.
Yeah. So anyways, I don't mean to like beat a dead horse, but man, know who you are as an investor and then figure out from there what your first thing should do.
That's awesome. How can my listeners reach out?
Go to wealth.wallstreet.com/passport. And please, there's a DM function when you download the app. Right there on your phone, you can shoot me a message and tell me you heard me on Wealth Matters with Alpesh. And I'd love to connect with you there and hear more about who you are as an investor.
Thank you so much, Joey, for your time. I literally had a lot of fun. I mean, this discussion had opened my eyes.
Oh, man, thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to the Wealth Matters podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes so others can enjoy the show too. Have a great week and happy investing.